All right. Welcome to Wednesday Word. Wednesday Word 7:30. Wow, it feels a little strange being on online again. We were doing the recordings and we had the different ministers, and I'm grateful for them. They did a wonderful job during our Lenten services. And now I'm coming back this week, and then next week we'll have, Lord will, we should have um, Elder Jethro and Evangelist um, Hill. Slip my mind. Evangelist Hill. We'll see. We got to talk and work out some details. But before we went into the Lenten season, we were doing Revelation. We only have, I think, after today, about 4 more chapters left, and then we'll be done with Revelation. But I did want to take the time to go through the book. It's really um, poignant to the time that we're living in right now. So it's relevant information. It may not always be easy to understand, to perceive, and so forth, but we're trying to um, make it as understandable. We try to make it as easy as possible for you to understand. And when we look at Revelation, we're dealing with figurative language, we're dealing with prophecy, things that have not been seen, and so forth. So it's not always easy to grasp. Before we get into Bible study, we're going to give people time to get on. I see you, Evangelist Ellis. God bless you. Glad to have you here with us. Um, I was looking, and I saw an article, and I found it interesting about Elon Musk. So, he's got SpaceX and he's got Tesla and, large amounts of money. And he says right now he has no house, no home, and he's going from friend to friend, kind of living in their houses until whenever. I don't know. He says he doesn't have a yacht. He doesn't travel. He doesn't he doesn't vacation and all that kind of stuff. So I just thought that was interesting. How does this man end up with no home? So we gotta say too, it's by choice. Evangelist Neil, God bless you. Good to see you on. It's by choice because as much money as he makes, I mean, he doesn't have to stay at friends' houses. If nothing else, he can go rent an apartment or buy a house. But for some reason right now, and I didn't get to the end of the article, it caught my eye and I ran out of time. Praise the Lord, Brother Lane. Brother Lane, praise the Lord. But I just found it interesting that this man is just I almost want to say slumming off of his friends and just going house to house and staying with friends. So I don't know. I have to find out more about that article and what he said. But let me see. What else did I see in the news that I was going to talk about? Well, we know, of course, no stuff's going on with Russia and Ukraine. And I know, actually, I had a conversation with somebody about this, and um, it's like, some people wonder, why are we getting involved? Why the U.S., just stay out of it? We're sending arms, we're sending money, and Russia's not happy about it, and we wouldn't be happy if Russia meddled in something we were doing, and so forth. Um, and I find it interesting, though, in all of this, and we can debate back and forth whether, this is helping keeping Russia in a certain control, that they don't get too big, too strong, or it could be just meddling. But when we look at this, how is it that we have $1 trillion debt, but we got 800 million for Ukraine? How is that? America, we're the only place that can operate like this. It's almost just like, we just go and print our own money, get our stuff, send it out, and not even care about the debt. So I don't know. That's where we are as the United States. I don't know if anybody want to comment on that, or you want to just leave that alone. That was one thing. Let me throw this out there. Somebody that I'm friends with on Facebook, they ran into O.J. Simpson in Miami, and they took a picture with him. And at first, I thought it was fake. I'm looking, and I'm like, no, that is really O.J. And I test. So I found it interesting that when this person posts pictures, people commented, but nobody commented about the OJ post. So I put in there, I said, hey, I see everybody wants to stay hands off on this post, but I just gotta say it is awful interesting to see you taking a picture with OJ. But that was the picture. All right, enough of that. I won't go too much into OJ. So today, I'm going to touch base on Revelation 18. Revelation 18, and just a quick little recap. In Revelation 17, before we went into our Lenten season, we were talking about the Babylon, but that represented the woman who really represented the religious group. That this representation of Babylon, this mighty force, was the religious power coming into play. And this religious power is eventually killed, and the leaders don't care that the religious power is killed, because they don't want the religious power in control anyway. It was just to draw the people. So now we get into Revelation 18. It talks about Babylon again, and when it does this, it now speaks of Babylon in reference to the economy. So when we come to Revelation chapter 18 and it talks about Babylon, it's talking about Babylon, and that word is that word is in reflection of the economic system, the economy. So we're beginning to see how the world is changing and being taken over by evil forces, but now we're starting to turn the corner, and we're starting to see the victory of Jesus, the victory of God that he's going to bring forth in this world. And in Revelation 18, I want to read verses 1 through 3. After this, I saw another angel coming down from heaven. He had great authority, and the earth was illuminated by his splendor. With a mighty voice, he shouted, "Fallen! Fallen is Babylon the Great. She has become a dwelling for demons and a haunt for every impure spirit, a haunt for every unclean bird, a haunt for every unclean, detestable animal. For all the nations have drunk the maddening wine of her adulteries. The king of the earth committed adultery with her, and the merchants of the earth grew rich from her excessive luxuries." So here, excuse me, we're seeing it says Babylon is fallen. Babylon is fallen. So commercial, we had the religious Babylon in chapter 17, and that fall happened in the middle of the Great Tribulation. Tribulation is 7 years. So now as we come toward the end of the Great Tribulation, the last 3.5 years, we're seeing that Babylon, the economic system, the economy, is going to fall. Now, the religious system before was corrupt in the previous chapter. The religious Babylon was tolerated and manipulated by the leaders of the world at the time, but then it was destroyed. When it was destroyed, the leaders did not care about the destruction of Babylon. I want to point that out because the leaders did not care when the religious system died off, when it failed. But in Revelation 18, John's vision takes a shift. So now what we're looking at is we're looking at the future through the lenses of faith. This is a prophecy. This is about the future. So now we're looking at this through the lens of faith. There's the prediction of what's going to happen. It's showing us how God is going to be victorious. It's showing us ahead of time. John's vision shifts now, and he begins to describe the fall of this different type of Babylon. And this Babylon in chapter 18, the Babylon chapter 17, people try to figure out, is this a city that's rebuilt? Is this in, modern day Iraq because of the Euphrates rivers being in the Middle East and, all those types of things. But Babylon is the representation here of the economic force, the economic power that's moving forward. So Babylon the Great is fallen. The angel announces, proclaims the destruction of Babylon. And specifically, the angel begins to make mention of her wickedness, how Babylon was wicked and has become the dwelling place for demons. So this prophetic picture is about the desolation, the destruction of the achievements that men and women have had that now become demonic. So now there's this wickedness, this corruption, there's this demonic picture that has moved into the economic system. The Bible tells us that the love of money is the root of all evil. And now we're starting to look at the greed, the destruction that is coming through the economic system. There's a call in verses 4 and 5, basically for God's people to separate from Babylon, to separate from this economy, this desire for money, because we're going to see more of the evilness to it. But when we look at this, the child of God being separated from that religious system, thought that the religious system that creeps in, that get people to worship false gods and so forth, that, okay, we can see that, I'm not going to worship a false god. But now what happens when he's given us warning about the economy? So, write for me in the chat, take a moment. What are some luxury items that people buy? Let's look at luxury items, because we're talking about the economy. We're talking about luxury. I'm not necessarily talking about needs, like, hey, I need water, to survive. But we're talking about these luxury items, this money that's being spent. Somebody type in the chat, what are some luxury items that, we go after in life? Yes, here we go. Cars. That's one thing. You have cars that cost $300,000, $500,000. We have expensive luxury cars out there. Now, let's just go here too. We got cars that cost $50,000, $40,000, and so forth. That's a lot of money. Now, you can look and say, well, a lot of money for who? Because that could be perspective. But it's luxury. It's not a need, the cars that a lot of people buy. So we got fancy cars. We got real big houses, the big houses. We have houses. These are luxury items. Now, I know a lot of times when you think of your house, you're thinking this is a necessity. Shelter is a necessity. But it doesn't mean the type of house that you live in is a necessity. So these are luxury items, designer clothing and accessories. Yes, we set this. We set up a class system. We set up a system for, if let's say some of the designer things that are out there. So let's say I know Chanel is expensive. Let's say that we took Chanel and those purses that cost $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, shoes that are expensive, and we said, okay, these are now all $5. They lose their appeal. They're the same item. But because we changed the value, then people would look and say, well, that's not a big deal. That's not a big thing. So we get caught up in this luxury item things, from shoes, clothes, purses, accessory, gold chains and necklaces, or platinum, or whatever you're using. Expensive pets. That's right. We were talking about that earlier at our home. What's it? The golden doodles and so forth. Like you could buy a dog that costs $2,000, $5,000, or you could buy a dog or get a dog from the county kennel or something like that, a whole lot cheaper. But we begin to set these items and put this value on these things that are not expensive to make, but we make them expensive by price tags. I hope that makes sense. But let's look at that for a moment. Luxury items. So now let me ask you. I want somebody to put in there, and it could be anything. It could be the grocery store. It could be clothes. Put that. What's the last 3 things you bought? Last 3 things you bought. Let's see. So anybody put in there? Last 3 things you bought. I know some people are like, I don't know if I want to share all my information. What's the last 3 things you bought? Let me think. What's the last 3 things I bought? Oh yeah. Okay. Let me see. I type in mine real quick. Let me see. Last 3 things I bought. One was okay. So I have lunch. I think that one. Yeah, I couldn't put it all in the same time. I'll try it again. My apologies. It's the first time not first time in a while. Lunch. I bought a sports coat, and that wasn't for me. That was for one of the kids. And what else did I buy? I know I bought something else recently. Let me see. I'm gonna put that for now because I can't take too long. But that's 2 items. Okay, ice cream, gas. Well, gas, man. Gas takes it takes the cake. But ice cream, gas, and dinner. So look, lunch, sports coat. Yep, my hair. I mean, yep, hair done, nails done, pedicure. So now look at this, our purchasing, the economy. When we look at America in itself, we are not self-sufficient. We are not, like think about those people that we see on TV. Let's say, okay, raw chicken wings. So did you cook the wings yet, Evangelist Neil? Lunch, shrimp, fish. Did you cook the wings yet? I see raw chicken wings. So we need to know when you're cooking those wings and how you're going to marinate it and what you're going to put on it. But when we look at ourselves, we are in a position where we purchase a lot of things. And if you didn't list yours in there, just think for a moment, of what was the last few things you bought. Now I want to ask you, can you go 2 weeks without buying anything? Can you go 2 weeks without buying anything? 2 weeks without buying anything. So that means that we have to find a way that we can last 2 weeks without going to the store, without jumping on Amazon, without pulling out that debit card. I mean, it's so easy to spend. You can have your phone now. You don't even need cash on. You got your phone and you can use Apple Pay and different things like that. So now when we look at this, and now look at us as a country, we see over with the Ukraine-Russian war, and then how we said that, hey, there's going to be a grain issue because Russia and the Ukraine are, I think, the second largest distributors of grain. There's a gas issue because of the gas that Russia sends out. So now if we cut off everything that was coming into the United States, and we can only exist on what's here, how well off are we as a nation? And this goes for other countries too. And then if we go a step further and we say that, okay, if I couldn't go to the store, and I'm not saying that you got to plan for it ahead of time, like you got, 2-3 weeks notice, but what I'm saying is if you got notice today, right now, you cannot go and spend any money for 2 weeks. How well are you going to do? That means no gas. That means no grocery store. That means no clothes, nothing. You can't go. We are in a dependent economy, and most people are. because we're not those off the grid people where we can survive out in the woods, out in the desert, out in this place, days, weeks, months at a time. A lot of us, we don't have gardens in the back to say, I'm growing my own food. I can survive off of, what I've been growing and preparing, and I have a way to, get everything I need. I don't need to use the car. I can just go ahead and walk. I can, pull out my horse and ride my horse or whatever the case may be. So we are in a position where our economy is dependent upon things being available at a daily, consistent basis. So now, as we look at these luxury items that are out there, this economy, things that we buy that we don't always need to buy, but we have it. There's the warning about Babylon that we ought to, as saints, watch where we position ourselves unless we receive the plagues that she is going to receive. Babylon is going to face plagues that are going to come her way. So the saints who are positioned, and we can look at Genesis 19 when we see Lot and his family being warned that, hey, Sodom and Gomorrah is going to have fire rain down. It's time for you not to position yourself with Sodom and Gomorrah anymore, but get out. And the sins of Babylon are enormous, and she's going to have judgment from God. The judgment that comes from God is going to be fierce. We talked about God moving into a place of victory. Now, I know everyone doesn't like to hear it. We want to see, loving, precious, gentle, forgiving God, and that's who he is. But now also we have to understand that Satan and the Antichrist, that they are trying to conquer the land. They are trying to defeat Jesus. So now we need to understand there's a war, there's a battle going on. So he's going to render her just as she rendered to you. Just as she rendered out to mankind, her judgment is going to be rendered to her. The Greek word for render in this situation, it means to give back that which is due. God is going to give Babylon exactly what she deserves. It also mentions that she's going to be repaid her double according to her works. And this double restitution, this was something that we see in the Old Testament in the cases of theft in Exodus chapter 22. Babylon has made her wealth through dishonest dealings. There's corruption in the economy. It's been dishonest in how she's made her wealth. And there's going to be a repaying double according to her works. So now when we look at this, there's the sin of self-indulgence, Babylon living luxuriously. There's the sin of pride where she's glorifying herself as the queen. And then there's the mindset that I will not see sorrow. I'm not going to pay for any of this. And this brings forth the characteristics of materialism. You have to watch not to be materialistic. We can get caught up in being so much about the materials. Oh, I can't wear that. That's not designer. Oh, what you got on that? And then we put people down. What's the name on that? I don't see a name on those shoes. And we have to be careful how materialistic we are. Her plagues are going to come in one day. The destruction of commercial Babylon is going to come suddenly and with a a completeness, and there's going to be, well, let me show you the verse. I got the verse. Let me read verse number 17. In 1 hour, such great wealth has been brought to ruin. Every sea captain and all who travel by ships, the sailors and all who earn their living from the sea will stand afar off. When they see the smoke of her burning, they will exclaim, was there never a city like this great city? So they're remembering her past, how great the economic system was. Verse 19, they will throw dust on their heads and with weeping and mourning cry out. So now they didn't care when the religious aspect died. But now that the economy, the money, the financial side, they're mourning. They cry out, woe, woe. So here's the woes. To you, great city, where all who had ships on the sea became rich through her wealth. In 1 hour, she has been brought to ruin. In 1 hour. So now let me ask you, throw it out there, type it in the chat. Can you see, oh, no, let me say, not can you see. How can an economy fall in 1 hour? What could happen to cause our whole religious system to crash? I'm sorry, not religious, economic system to crash. What could happen where the dollar wouldn't be worth $1 anymore? What could happen in Europe to crash their whole system? Think about it for a moment. Anybody, what could happen to destroy the whole economy? And something that's been around for years is now suddenly gone in 1 hour. War. That's right. War can come and it can change everything. It can be coming to a place where we have to use either so many people that the workforce is gone. It could come in a way where so many people died. It could come in a way in which someone has taken over and decide to set a new set of rules and so forth. Stock market crash. That's right. We've had issues and we had crashes and we had things. We're like, oh no, the stock market's in trouble, and we got to try to move some things around, flush some things, and make it happen. Everything falling in 1 hour. Yes, COVID. I was waiting for somebody to say that. COVID. Did we not see the whole sports world shut down because of COVID? Companies, people got to work from home because of COVID. Can't go in the stores, or there was restrictions to the stores. But if it got so bad where the disease, the virus was so infectious that nothing we had could help, we could find ourselves in a situation where you can't go outside. The stock market, terrorism. Yes. We saw London dealing with the Brexit. We saw the Italy financial market had their crash. We've seen the market system challenged. I mean, once again, in America, our market, so to speak, is barely working because we are operating off $1 trillion debt. What happens if Japan, China, or somebody comes and say, hey, pay the price. I want my money now. I'm taking what's mine. What would happen? So the economy can fall at any moment. In 1 hour, great riches are going to be gone. In 1 hour, the place that was full of wealth is made desolate. This gives the reason of the woe that's in verse 16. There's going to be a great surprise when the luxury, the people living in a luxurious life, there's no more luxury. There's no more tier system. Filthy rich, middle class, lower class and all that. There's no more class system. Everybody in the same boat. And We even see the terms here in Revelation, and it talks about every shipmaster, pilot, every shipmaster and pilot. These words we also find in Acts chapter 27 when Paul speaks to the men that have him on a ship, and he says to them, I see disaster, I see great loss that's going to happen to the ship and to the cargo and to our own lives. But the Bible tells us that despite Paul's advice, the centurion listened to the pilot and the owner of the ship. And later the ship was shipwrecked. Lives were lost. The goods that they had on the ship, the cargo, it was destroyed. It was exactly how Paul saw it. And he tried to warn them and give them advice, but the centurion only listened to the pilot and the owner of the ship, who were being greedy at the time. So they stand off in the distance in fear and torment because they begin to see the heat, the smoke, the burning, and everything that's happening to this economic system. Now, some people want to give reference and say that when they see this, this is a nuclear weapon that went off and destroyed the city and so forth. But I'm looking at the economic system crashing, burning, and destroyed, and people can only stand by and watch it because they can't stop the judgment that God is bringing to this system. And then there's going to be mourning, and people are going to be with grief over the fall of their luxury, over their wealth, over their items, and the merchandising of gold and silver. And they begin to give this list that is similar to Tyre, the city of Tyre in Ezekiel, I think it's 26. They begin to give this list, and their merchandise is there no more. Is there no more. The profits of commercial Babylon was done also by wickedness. The wickedness. So now let me throw this in, and I'm gonna get ready to wrap this up. They sold bodies and souls of men. So now when we dig deeper, this luxury, this wealth, this economy was also on the backs of slaves, human trafficking, prostitution. That there's wickedness, that they misused and took advantage of people as a part of their gain of luxury and wealth. And God calls for the heavens and the people of God to rejoice in heaven, and the holy apostles and the prophets to understand that God has avenged you. Because God points out in this passage that Babylon's fall is similar to, they show an angel takes up a stone and throws it into the sea, saying that this is the vice of the great city of Babylon, and it's being thrown down and not to be found evermore. So he gets rid of Babylon altogether, this economic system, this evilness, because once again, we're looking at the victory of God. So now the ultimate reason for the judgment of commercial Babylon is that she is responsible for the killing of the prophets and the saints. It says, in her was found the blood of prophets and saints, and all those who were slain on the earth. This isn't just an economic system that is just about making money, but it was also about destroying people in regards to making the money. The blood of the prophets and the saints and everyone that was slain. And this is symbolic of the world economic system. In her is found the blood of the prophets and the saints. So we're in the tribulation. So in the tribulation, when they're still trying to flourish economically, they are going to be not only using people, slaves, human trafficking, and all these other kind of ways to make false money. Well, not false money, to make unclean money, I'll say. But that also right now, we see that the system also fought against the prophets and the saints. It was not a They were out to persecute the people of God. I'm starting to lose my picture here for a minute. All right. So those who attacked his people, God looks and sees this is an attack on me. And God brings forth his judgment, and he begins to destroy the city of Babylon, this economic structure of Babylon. So we see here in the Bible how an economy can fall in 1 hour. We see here also how we can get wrapped up into luxury items and materialism. So now we're being warned. The love of money is the root of all evil, not having money. There's a lot of people that have money that can be generous and share, not so dependent and stuck on the money. But we have to be mindful. Your life here is not about material wealth. Your life here is not about the luxury and the finer things of life. Your life here is about walking with God and living a life that he has now called us to. So I want to encourage you, watch your materialism. All these things fade away, and this economy is going to go in an hour. The earthly materialism ultimately is out only to go against God and to use you. God bless you. I pray that God's word is made plain to you, and we will see you again next week. Be blessed.